Hello and welcome to TCG Ticker Analysis. We're going to review some tickers as requested by the members. First of all, we're going to start with SPY. SPY had a lot of interesting volatility last night, and I expect some of that to continue over the next 24 hours, at least until things settle down as far as the US election is concerned. There is also going to be some earnings coming up on these tickers, so just keep that in mind. Keep in mind in general that we can see a little bit of a back and forth here, as we have seen over the last little bit. So, SPY had an overall strong day, gave up a lot of that in the latter half of the afternoon, but we still held EMA 12 on the hourly time frame, and things are looking okay so far. So with that in mind, let's take a look at INSG. The question that I had from a member here was more of a reflection on getting stopped out of a long position. So let's take an analysis on what has happened on INSG and where are we going from here. So in the daily time frame, we can see that bears have been in pretty much dominant control of INSG as we have headed down to the sub $10 range. We do have earnings coming up, I believe, tomorrow. So we have to keep a close eye on that. Earnings can really throw off an analysis, but ignoring earnings, where are we heading from here? On the daily time frame, obviously bears have full control. Right now we are experiencing a delayed daily bounce. Our RSI got all the way down to 21, so we're seeing a little bit of a bounce there. We have one green candlestick, and today's action is a little bit weak. So to understand what is happening in the context of that bounce, we need to take a closer analysis. And when we do, we can see a couple of things jump out right away. First, we got a nice oversold bounce right to our EMA 12. We had an inside bar, and then we had a bullish or bearish engulfing, rejecting from our EMA 26 on the 4-hour, encompassing the entire inside bar. And now we are setting to lose the support that was established by that 4-hour candle. If we lose 876, that is going to show that the bears have a lot of momentum. The bulls failed to break the inside bar, or I should say they failed to hold that bull break, and that downside momentum is currently in place. So looking for a bear break of 876, and if we see that, then we'll be looking back to the low of 829 as the next area of support. Lose that, and then this daily trend just continues the downside, having enjoyed a nice little bounce and cooling off that RSI that was really oversold. All of that, again, could be derailed by our earnings tomorrow. So I'm not sure what the long entry was on this position. I'm assuming way over here. But yes, this was a lot of bearish strength. Notably, the loss of 8 or 989 and the failure to establish a higher low over that level to take out 1060. That's what I would have been concerned about primarily. And then we see the complete lack of bullish strength and that fade. So short-term bearish on INSG. Again, earnings tomorrow. Shop. This one is interesting. So much like a lot of the names in the market today, we saw a nice gap open. We saw some strength, good volume, and this is post-earnings reaction. So we're shaking off whatever bad news created these 2-3 red candlesticks. I would be concerned about this overall sloping trend line here. We failed to get new higher highs pre-earnings, so we have resistance under 1088. So we'd be looking to tomorrow around the 1059 area for resistance, looking for a slowdown there. That would give us that lower high into a lower low. If we can break over top of that resistance, our next check is going to be that 1088 level. So short-term bulls are in control of Shopify, but we do have that trend line resistance to watch out for. On the hourly time frame, we are going to be, let's turn on these extended hours. We have that nice strong hourly uptrend, and looks like we've got a little bit of support down here at the low, and what I'm going to do is validate that this is regular market hours, and it is 9:55. So that is a must-hold level for the bulls on the hourly time frame. We'll be looking for a bull break over 1,267, a higher low over 9:55, and an hourly continuation into this area of resistance. So we'll be paying close attention to any possible weakness up here. Not necessarily going to mark a full reversal, but it is an area for us to watch and look for trend changes for possible short opportunities. If bulls can plow right through that, and they certainly could in the right conditions, 1130 is going to be our next area of resistance, and then 1146. So short-term bulls for Shopify. GoPro. Okay, GoPro on the daily time frame. When is earnings? Tomorrow. So another name that is going to be influenced in the short term by earnings reactions. So what we're going to do is go and see if we had ourselves a nice inside week. So we have an inside week today, and this is only the first day. So Actually, no, it's Wednesday, isn't it? How about that? That's how busy I am. So midway through the week, nearly anything can go. Right now, if we close on our weekly candlestick and we have an inside week, that is going to be nice for giving us those key levels, but anything can happen at this point. So let's go to the daily time frame. So on the daily, let's go load our standard charts. We have ourselves an inside day that is broken bull. We don't have a lot of resistance here, so let's go to the 4 hour because I am interested in getting clear of this section of congestion. If we can get over 629, we have a little gap fill that we can worry about and possibly get through. Hourly time frame looking good. Trying to establish a higher low over 592. Area of resistance up here. So we really need to focus on the high of day. So that was a legitimate during market hours high. We have resistance to 630 and 632. So what we're going to look for longer term entries and longer term show of strength is going to be a higher low over 592 and a higher high over 632. That would allow us to get over the 630 area of congestion. It's something that we absolutely need to do on the short term time frame. So we're going to look for that hourly and that 4 hour break, then look for a 4 hour higher low, and then we're going to look for a 4 hour trend change into continuation. Daily time frame setting up pretty well. Let's see, what would that do for us on that weekly perspective? So let's go back to our daily. That's our daily 629. So let's go to our weekly. Yeah, we could certainly break that. We're still going to have an inside week if we do that, which could set up a lot more equilibrium in the short term. Yeah, that's all I'll be looking for right now. Let's get the bulls over 629 and see what happens from there. Of course, again, that is going to be influenced by our earnings. So let's go look at possible downside. Areas of support, 580, 581, must hold area for the short-term bulls. Lose that, and we are in sort of an abyss here. 440 is the next support. Certainly don't want to see bears able to drive the price down that far. If they do, we're going to allow that price action to play out. Get some short-term consolidation opportunities and patterns set up, maybe some broadening ranges, and see if we can't give us something to work with. DKNG, the question here was, can you give us some impact or information on DKNG long-term plays, long-term entries rather. Earnings on the 13th, so still quite a ways away. Daily time frame, dipped into daily oversold, seeing a nice bounce. We have indecision candlestick today, unreasonable volume right against our EMA 12. So have we changed the daily trend? That is really the question that we need to answer. And we haven't. This is a nice oversold bounce into an area where we expect to see some oversold weakness, or I should say some bounce weakness. EMA 12 is often a nice target for us when we're trying to essentially arbitrarily pick a target for a bounce. We often see that come into play as an area of reversal. So we have two things working against us. We have the fact that we have lower lows and lower highs. We haven't established a higher low yet, so the trend is not changed. What we're going to look for is going to be a higher low over our support. Right now, that support is sitting at, come on there, 34.90. So best case for the bulls, establish a daily higher low, establish a higher high, and change that daily trend. So if I'm looking for a longer term entry into DKNG, I want to see an hourly trend change somewhere down here that's going to give me more confidence in a longer term entry. We haven't changed the daily trend yet. If we go to the 4 hour time frame, 4 hour bulls definitely need to consolidate. They have not done so yet. So anything over 34.90 is going to give us a daily higher low and that 4 hour higher low, and then we'd be in a better position. So that's what I would look for in the short term. Anything less is just going to be overextended high with no real trend change on the daily time frame yet. It will move where we expect to find that daily higher low, but we're still going to anticipate that to come. There is always a better entry. And what I want to see on DKNG is going to be some weakness, some resumption of strength, and then look for my entry right around there. X on the daily time frame, big bear day today. So a lot of momentum. We're going to see where this little dip came into play. But if we go to the daily time frame, this is going to be a pretty significant move to the downside. Let's go take a look at which standard charts. EMA 26 acting as a little bit of support. If we go to the weekly time frame, we have a long way to go to establish weekly higher lows. So down at 685 is that level for us daily. Bears are in control. 4 hour time frame, bears are in control. And we're basically just going to keep chipping away at it until we get into hourly oversold conditions. And there we see that. So we're going to be looking for a short-term bounce out of hourly. We have EMA 12 resistance. Then we're going to expect a lower high and a lower low test support sitting down. at 896. So I don't see any real signs of bull strength right now. 50-minute resistance, 929, still looking for a lower high under that level, and then a resumption of this 15-minute downtrend. If we go to the 5-minute, we might be able to make out a little bit of a channel. And I always like trying to draw these. Let's see, does that get all of our action? No. Of course, we're adjusting and making it fit what we want it to look like, and that is the risk of patterns. But that contains most of our action. So I would look for a break of 896, and I try to validate the support against that little trend line and see what happens from there. If it adds a little bit more confidence to this support and resistance line, then we can start looking at that as a demarcation of when trend has changed. But right now, bears are just in control. 5-minute downtrend, 15-minute downtrend, hourly bounce underway, and a lot of bearish momentum to the downside on the daily, with a somewhat lack of support here on the weekly time frame as well. GSK, this one is a little bit wild. So the question is this a short opportunity? Maybe. It's going to be tricky. The problem with this one is it seems to gap around quite a bit. So if you're not already in a short position, it's very possible that you're just going to wake up tomorrow and that short is going to be played out. It doesn't move a heck of a lot during regular market action. So does it move during pre-market? That's another question for us to look at. And we need to turn those extended hours on. So some relatively low volume does seem to move a little bit pre-market, but still not very much. So if you're not already in a short, your opportunities are somewhat limited. The daily time frame, this is a shooting star candlestick. So what that signifies is that there is a aggressive move to the upside. We see pressure from the bears pushing the price down from the bulls, who really, they open here, they push all the way up, bears push them back down. So the fact that the bears are able to push at all suggests weakness, and it suggests trend change, and that's why we look to these as reversal signals. Volume climax is there as well, possible volume climax. We don't always know those are climaxes until the volume starts to taper away and we start to see some weakness. So a little bit of a lagging indicator, but we always watch out for it. So yes, this is a reversal signal. We are seeing components and ingredients to make that reversal pie. But as I said, it's likely that we are just going to open lower. And if you're not in that short, that opportunity is going to be somewhat limited. On the hourly time frame, bulls still have a lot of room to work with because we gapped up pretty hard. So we have some, let's see, hourly support. It's a little ambiguous, actually. Not too strong and not too definitive. 35, 19, anything over that range on the hourly and the 4-hour time frame is going to give us that higher low. Overbought on the 4-hour, so that may be where that upper wick comes from. A lot of it's going to be, where do we open tomorrow? And what is this going to do for GSK? So is it an outright short opportunity? I wouldn't take it yet. But if we saw a good setup pre-market, we saw some defined levels, we saw some strength in the form of volume coming into play, I'd be a little bit more interested in it. But there are going to be safer plays that don't gap nearly as much as GSK. PINS, what is the question on this one? No particular question, just interested in it. All right, that's fair. So volume, that's pretty interesting. So we had our earnings high. We've come down, established a daily higher low, and now we are moving away from that. And the question, I guess, is, are we heading to the upside, or are we going to get into a little bit of equilibrium? An equilibrium would have us looking for a lower high under 68.93. So we have to believe in the bulls until the bulls tell us that they want to do something different. Meaning we should expect them to continue their daily strength and at least attempt 68.93 until they give us signals on the sub time frames that they are not interested in that particular move. Volume is lower than it has been, but it is on par with average volume preceding this earnings run-up. Support 56.31, resistance 68.93. If we go to the 4-hour time frame, we can see that they are, well, bulls are looking good. Volume is okay, so we're going to go right to the 15. We're going to look for that trend, and there is the trend for us to be watching. Consistent 15-minute higher lows and higher highs. Bulls can keep this up as long as they want to. Let's go look at our extended hours. This changes the story a little bit. That's kind of interesting. Let me see. Yeah, the only thing I see that's different on the extended hours is we get a little bit of a wedge here going into the end of the day. 61.80, 59.33. So what I would do, well, it's going to break pre-market. I'm not going to put too much weight on that. Let's focus more on this line of resistance because that seems to come into play with 6104, 6007. Keeping a close eye on that. Right now, 15-minute bulls are in control, hourly bulls in control, and daily bulls on the march to the upside. So we'll have to keep a close eye on weakness. Even if we break 6004, we're just going to be looking for hourly higher lows, and anything over 5933 is going to give us that. And that, my friends, is a wrap on today's ticker analysis. If you ever have any questions, feel free to ask. I like engaging with you guys on YouTube. I appreciate your comments. And if this video is helpful, please consider liking and subscribing. All that fun stuff. It does help us out on YouTube quite a bit. And have a good night.